Hello, genealogists. It's just genealogy and Craig again. So here we are. So I got to thinking that there was the possibility that I was making assumptions about things that I didn't need to make or shouldn't make. And I had started down the course of creating a course for becoming a professional genealogist. And then it dawned on me this weekend that there might be some of you out there that really needed something more basic than becoming a professional genealogist. So I decided to start a series on beginning genealogy. So you can, if you're way ahead of things, you can refer others to it. Or if you just want a slight refresher, you never know when somebody else's idea about something that you already know all about is different. I learned that a long time ago. I go to lectures all the time that I think I know everything about and find out that actually I don't. So today we're going to begin for the first time in a series of discussions on beginning genealogy and how to create the foundation and to become a much better genealogist. I can share with you that when I first started doing genealogy when I was 16, I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't realize that there were other people doing it. I thought I was the only guy in the world doing it, truthfully. Then, on the 2nd of August, 1969, I went and visited the National Archives. And what I realized was that there were other people doing this too. So that made things a little bit different. I still didn't touch books. I still just sort of worked on my own stuff. And I didn't understand concepts like citation. I didn't understand a whole bunch of things. So for about 15 years, till about 1985, because I did it off and on, but for about 15 years of focused effort, I all of a sudden realized that I needed to do things differently. I found the National Genealogical Society one day, and I went and visited them, and I all of a sudden realized after a little bit of interaction that I'd been doing it wrong for 15 years. So I began the process of doing it right. And if you want to learn how to become an excellent genealogist and learn how to do it right, you have to do it with people. You can't do it in isolation. You can't do it by yourself. So we're going to cover some of those things today. One of the things that you're going to want to look for is a good how-to. I recommend, these are the same books, except one is revised and the other one isn't. Paths to Your Past, Guide to Finding Your Ancestors. Both are National Genealogical Society publications. I happen to have a ton of the old version and a few of the new version, but I can always get the new one. I just can't get the old one. So in evaluating the differences between the two, just one is more current than the other. But in the beginning, you don't really need things to be current. So there's a price differential between them because the other one is gone and has been replaced. So I'll put the linkage for them, the URL for them down in the description so that you can get to them if you'd like to own a copy. I think it's probably the best book to give to someone if they're just starting in genealogy and you want them to have a roadmap that they could take to get to becoming a better genealogist. So let's start. And I thought that this screen would be just really cool because genealogy is a puzzle after all. But let's talk about how we can improve on being able to get through that puzzle. I think what we have to do is deal with the issue of skill building. You may or may not have skills. You may or may not be able to translate the skills that you have from your past profession or your current profession into genealogy. I'm an old medical service corps officer who used to be director of program analysis, so I'm fairly analytical. I've got a bit of I always wanted to be a chemist until I wanted to be a priest. So I have a bit of research methodology background. And I'm a human resources management major in college. So that means I'm always looking at what people are doing and why are they doing it. So I can translate my past very simply into becoming a very good genealogist. You may or may not be able to do that. My time as a part-time machine gunner in the Marines in the field is of no use to me as a genealogist. But I need to share with you that genealogy is not like baseball. It's not something that you can just watch and you can enjoy it. I mean, you can read genealogy and enjoy it, although very little genealogy is enjoyable to read unless it's about your family. If it's about somebody else's family, it may or may not be enjoyable as a function of how much it teaches you. But genealogy is not a spectator sport. You have to participate. You just can't just watch it and have fun. Although there are television programs, but most of us who've been around a long time look at those programs and go, boy, is there a lot missing. Basically, you have to participate in genealogy to have fun. It's not totally an individual pursuit. You can't just go it alone. I went it alone for 15 years. And I found that although I thought that I was doing it right for 15 years, it turns out I really wasn't. And I didn't even know it. So it may be that you think you're doing it right, but the truth of the matter is you might not be. So we're going to go on a journey to see how we can create that foundation, how we can build that house to make you into a good genealogist. So there are not very many good how-to beginning books out there. There just aren't. There have been some in the past, and they've gone by the wayside. I recommend that you get one of these two. They're thin, they're inexpensive, they're not difficult to read, and they will get you on the right path to finding your ancestors. And as I said, I'll put the URL for them down at the bottom. Recognize this is not the only book that you're going to buy over time. This is just the first book that you might want to buy. We'll be talking about other books and that kind of stuff. I don't think you want to start with A Researcher's Guide to American Genealogy by Val Greenwood as the #1 book to start with. You want to start here and work your way into the thick books. I also recommend that, as I said, you can't do this in isolation properly. I recommend that you join the National Genealogical Society. My experience with the National Genealogical Society is that if I had not joined it in 1985, I would not be where I am today. I would not be the researcher that I am. I would not be the genealogist that I am if it weren't for the National Genealogical Society. Now, there were other societies along the way that helped me out, but it was the National Genealogical Society that put me on the road to becoming an excellent genealogist. You also want to join your state genealogical society. And I don't even care if you don't have any ancestors in the state. Join your state genealogical society so that you can network with other people. That's the purpose for joining your state genealogical society. Also, if you're going to become an excellent genealogist, you're eventually going to be lecturing, and what a better place to start lecturing than at your state genealogical society. Of course, you want to join your local genealogical society, even if you don't have any ancestry in your local area, because again, you want to network with people. You want to have the opportunity to talk to people. One of my favorite genealogical societies in the world is the Fairfax Genealogical Society. Almost no one in Fairfax County, Virginia, belonging to the Fairfax County Genealogical Society has family from Fairfax. But what they have is a large society where everybody comes together and they help each other get things done. It was very easy for me to be able to ask questions when I was young and in the Fairfax Genealogical Society. I think I joined the National Genealogical Society in 1985. I joined the Virginia Genealogical Society not long after that. And I joined the Fairfax Genealogical Society and the Loudoun County Genealogical Societies probably in about 1990 when I moved out and had my own home and that kind of stuff. It was just easier. Also, you should join the Genealogical Society where most of your ancestors are from, just for fun, because that'll put you in touch with what's going on in that area. So, first step, join the National Genealogical Society. They're having a national conference in California in the next month or so. I won't be there. Too far away. Join your state society. I belong to I'm a life member of the North Carolina Society. I'm a member of the Virginia Genealogical Society. I'm speaking to the North Carolina Society on indentured servants on the 4th of May. I'm speaking to the Virginia Society on, I think, the 24th of April or thereabouts soon on Virginia and World War I. So join your state society, join the local genealogical society. We don't have a local genealogical society where I live, and I don't want to start one. I've got enough to do. But I have joined genealogical societies in places where my ancestors were from over the years. The next thing you want to know is, what are the sources for sources? In other words, most of what you're going to have to find in genealogy doesn't exist in your library at home. Most of what you're going to have to find doesn't exist in your local library. It may or may not be digital. Digital is just the tip of the iceberg. You want to know how to determine what exists, whether that be the Family Search Wiki, the Family Search Catalog, finding aids to the various repositories that you're looking at. I collect National Archives finding aids. I have hundreds of them. It could be that you collect finding aids from your state archives. I collect finding aids from both North Carolina and from Virginia. Or, for example, I look for finding aids to other things. For example, a good example would be I have a finding aid for Hessians at Marshall College, which is downloadable, digital file. So I look for sources about sources, and they come in a variety of different flavors. The Family Search Wiki and the Family Search Catalog are probably the number one and number two places that I go. I might also go to the Library of Congress website, their catalog. I might also go to worldcat.org and their catalog. I might go to Amazon to see if a book exists. But I'm looking for sources for sources. The other thing that you're going to want to do is that you're going to want to create an education plan for yourself. This is very important, and especially with COVID, it's much easier than it has been in the past because there's so many virtual webinars out there. Places like Legacy Family Tree webinars. There are so many free webinars available now that you really should be looking at least 2 webinars a week. Currently, we're looking at some hybrid webinar conferences that are going on where there is an in-person component and there is a stay-at-home component. Those will probably become much more regular as time goes by. And then there are the attend in-person conferences like the National Genealogical Society conference that's coming up. You want to do a couple of things. You want to learn how to figure out what webinars exist. You want to learn which ones are only going to be available live, and therefore you must attend if you're going to learn anything, or those which will be recorded and you might return to it, or you might watch it for the first time at a later date. So there are various calendars out there, and I'll do a webinar eventually or a discussion on calendars at some point probably, or ask somebody else to do one for me. You want to attend institutes. The institutes that are out there, the biggest ones are things like IGHR in Georgia, SLIG in Salt Lake City, or GenFed at the National Archives when they have it again. So there are institutes out there that you're going to want to attend. I would recommend that you attend GRIP, which is the Genealogical Research Institute of Pittsburgh. Sometimes they have it in more than one location. Try to schedule one institute a year at least, because again, you've got the issue of networking. What you're trying to do is create a situation where people are aware of what your skills are. So when they have a problem that matches your skill set, you're the person they think of. That's your goal. You can't do that if you don't know the people. So it's important that you attend, and attend. I don't know how else to say that. You've got to become a participant. You can't do genealogy in isolation and do a good job. So I recommend also that you subscribe to Just Genealogy, just to make me feel good, if for no other reason. The next session we're going to do on beginning genealogy will deal with how do you know? Because probably the most important rule in genealogy is go from what you know. So that is what we're going to do next time, whatever that might be. So this has been Craig with Just Genealogy, converting people doing genealogy into genealogists day by day. And finally, we have something to do with people who are just beginning. Thank you so much.